In 2022, just about every New York sports team showed up and showed out. The Yankees and Mets dominated most of the season, and on Saturday, the NFL wildcard round starts, and the Giants are still around and have a chance somehow. Down in Manhattan, the Rangers have been inching closer to lifting that Stanley Cup. Last year, we got a tease of what this team truly has to offer. But will this year be the year they can do it? Over in the baseball world, we have some rule changes coming to the big leagues. Some fans aren't too pleased about this. We're told it's proven to work in the minors, but what are they exactly?
After a rocky start, the Rangers find themselves with the third spot in the Metro Division behind the young emerging Devils and the Canes, who bolstered their roster this offseason by adding Brent Burns to their lineup. At 23, 12, and 7, the Rangers have the Capitals on their tail, a point behind them, and can prove to either be a contender or fall into the hunt, showing that last year's trip to the conference finals was a fluke. Currently scoring 3.24 goals per game and averaging 2.71 goals against, the Rangers are sitting in a decent spot but need to improve their defensive side or they will continue to fall in the Metro Division. On the power play, they've been better than in years past with a 23%, but with the league average at 22.4, they need to add another asset to make them a dangerous power play. Currently, there's rumors of adding Kane in exchange for Hutt or another young player. This shows that Gallant is not as confident in the offense as we once thought. Not that the Rangers' offense is flawless. They have cornerstones to be a contender, and realistically, adding Kane, you have to send the Blackhawks a roster player in exchange. Zibanejad, Panarin, and Fox currently round out the top three skaters production-wise, and Shesterkin is still a world-class goaltender. The Rangers also have weapons with the likes of Kreider, Trocheck, and Trouba, but they are struggling due to some rule changes. Trouba currently leads the team in penalty minutes, and the box is not a place you want your captain come playoff time. They're going to need someone who can step up and be the tough guy, especially since Ryan Reeves departed to Minnesota earlier this season. They had the chance to fill that spot at the start of the season. They could have signed Subban, Chara, or even Yandel, who could have at least taken the penalty that Trouba is taking. That way he can stay on the ice. They all retired at the beginning of the season, and we had money to give them the contracts. As for the young kids like Lafreniere, Capo, and Hedel, they are going to need a veteran presence who can really keep them in line and show them what they need to do come playoff time. Like I said earlier, Subban, Chara, or Yandel could have helped and added to this solution, but they're going to need to acquire an asset at the trade deadline. Moving forward, the Rangers will most likely try to pursue Patrick Kane and lose a good young roster player in exchange. However, they should do what they did last year, where they added guys like Kopp, Mott, and Vetrano, who came in, they added to the depth, and they became suitable players. Kopp ended up getting a $5 or $6 million deal out in Detroit this season and is playing pretty well. All three of them contributed to the conference finals run last year, and I think if the Rangers were to round out their bottom six and add a veteran presence at the blue line, we could potentially see a cup run this season.
Over the last few decades, every sport has done a great job of evolving with the change of times, not only to protect their athletes, but to keep us, the fans, watching. There are certain rules every league needs to implement to keep up with the pace of their athletes, who seem to outgrow the skill set every decade. The 80s introduced the NBA to a new style of basketball with heavy offense and high scoring with the three-point line, and only a decade later in 91, we saw a change in defensive approach when the flagrant foul was implemented. At that time, the NBA seemed just as rough as the NFL to the casual sports fan. I'm sure the old school fan wasn't too pleased about these changes, but that's probably what the NBA needed to do if they planned on sticking around for at least a century, like Major League Baseball and the NFL. That leads me to my next point. I won't go too far in the NFL on this one, but over the years, they've done a great job of protecting their athletes with long-term health. This season, Major League Baseball is adding in 3 major rule changes. The first one being they're changing the size of the bases from a 15-inch square to an 18-inch square. This may not seem like a whole lot, but giving the fielders 3 more inches on the base should lessen the injuries that we see in the lower halves of players' bodies and a lot less collisions at second and down first base. These bigger bases shortens the distance between first and second to third by 4.5 inches, This doesn't seem like a lot to you guys, but trust me, it played a huge part in the minor leagues. Stolen base attempts went up 26% from 2019 to 2022, and the success rate of those stolen bases went up from 68% to 77%. Now, in the big leagues with much faster guys, we should see these numbers go up a lot more, just by the little bit of space that they're adding, because you're not focusing a lot on oversliding. The next rule change is the defensive shift limits. Now, we'll no longer see infielders standing in the outfield. All 4 infielders must be within the boundaries of the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber and about to start. If not, there will be awarded a penalty to the other team, and they could choose to either take a ball or play that pitch out and see the result of the play. We will see no more 4 outfielders. All infielders must stay on the infield dirt, and your best player can no longer switch sides. For a left-handed hitter, your shortstop can't go onto the second base side. They need to stay on their respective sides. If they want to switch, you need to make a position change. These rules won't only benefit the hitters by allowing more batting average on balls put in play, but we'll also see more of the athletic shortstops and fielders come back. More like the Cal Ripkens, Ali Smiths, Jeters, and even the Jose Reyes. I'm super excited being a former infielder. I'm getting the chills thinking about it. Lastly, the rule that's going to have the biggest change and biggest impact on the game in baseball moving forward. There will be 3 set times on the clock. There will be 30 seconds for the pitcher in between each batter. There will be 20 seconds for the pitcher when there's a runner on base, and only 15 seconds in between pitches for the batter when there's no runners on base. Now, the pitch clock will be restarted when the pitcher steps off the rubber or throws over to a base, but he's only limited to 2 per at-bat. If he attempts a third and is unsuccessful, those runners will be rewarded the next base. I kind of like these rules. It's kind of like a penalty in basketball or soccer or football where, you fuck up, you give the other team a reward. It's a new look to baseball. The batters will be penalized too. If they are not in the batter's box with 8 seconds remaining on the clock, the pitcher will be rewarded a strike, as the batter was rewarded a ball for the pitcher's violations. It may seem like there's a lot of violations, but in the minor leagues, they were down to under like a half a violation a week. The averages, it sounds like it's going to be a lot, but trust me, we'll probably very rarely see it. These are very skilled athletes. I didn't cover everything in depth. This is just a little update. I'm sure most of you know about these. But how do I feel about these rule changes? Like I said, a lot of people weren't happy, but these rules don't affect me. I don't play baseball anymore, so I can't really do anything about it. And as a fan, it should be fun because, if you have a set time on the game, these minor league games, they were around just under a half hour shorter. The games finished around 2 hours and 55 minutes on the average. So, going to a game with somebody who's not a baseball fan, you're not dragging them along for a 5-hour event no more. You're setting them up for a 3-hour event, which is kind of cool because other sports, you go to a basketball game, you're there for an hour and a half. You get the fuck out of there. So these rule changes, I don't think it will have a huge impact on the game. It is going to be a different style, different chess match, but it should be very interesting to watch. I'm super excited to see how these games go. Work down the minor leagues. These guys in the big leagues, they're a different skill set, but I don't see why it won't work.
Thank you for watching the Tribe channel. Be sure to leave a like, comment, let us know what you think of the Rangers season so far. Do you think they'll make another run, or will they fall short? Also, let us know what you think of the MLB rule changes with the shift rules and the pitch clock being added. Be sure to subscribe. We have the return of Way the Root covering our 3rd grow season, the start of our quest for the Cup, and tune in on Food Fridays. We're launching a new series next Friday. On behalf of Diego and the rest of the crew, my name is Hayden. We'll catch you in the next one.